Good evening. I call to order the business meeting of the Cave Creek Unified School District Governing Board. It is Monday, October 11th, 2021, and it is 6 o'clock. Item 1.2, roll call. All 5 board members are present, and there is a quorum. Present from the leadership team are Drs. Monroe and Jensen, Ms. Rodriguez, and Mrs. Scott. Item 1.3, formal adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. Oh, wait, I was gonna, sorry about that. I want to pull out 5.2, 5.3, 5.5, 5.9, and 5.10. And you can put them at the end of action consent.
Okay. All righty. So it is moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there a second to adopt it as amended? Let me backtrack.
Second.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain. The motion carries. The agenda is adopted as amended. Item 1.4, call to fill out forms for call to the public. We have some, so there will be an admonition read in a few minutes. Item 1.5, Pledge of Allegiance. We have Mia Preminger, a kindergartner from Desert Sun Academy, who will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mia. Okay. Item 1.6, President's Report. I would like to congratulate the Petinatos for their Channel 12 News Miracle Maker Award, which is obviously they deserve that. Also, the football team on their win and homecoming activities. And I know that this is conference week, so I hope all goes well with the conferences. Board comments.
I was able to attend the mountain bike race this last weekend up in Prescott, Arizona. And actually, our girls, junior hires, did a great job. 6th graders, 2 of them actually had podium. 1st grader from Desert Sun Academy, Leah Morozowicz, and our 4th grader, Olivia Payson, whose mom is also a teacher at Cactus Shadows. So that was exciting to cheer them on.
I had the pleasure of attending the Employee of the Month breakfast, and again, congratulations to all of the employees who were honored. This district wouldn't be what we are without all of the effort of those employees and everyone else. And I also attended the Cactus Shadows homecoming game, and congratulations to the football team for a resounding victory.
I was able to attend the business partner breakfast, although now it's been probably about 3 weeks ago, and I believe that was the first of that kind, and I know there's more coming down the road. And I also attended the Cactus Shadows homecoming game, and congratulations to the young man and woman who were deemed king and queen of homecoming, and it seemed to be a very popular selection by the reaction of the student body. So I know it was a good event, and the home stands was overflowing like always. So it was all in all a great night.
Member Fortney? All right. Thank you, Board. Item 1.7, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Monroe.
President Hatcher, members of the board, as you've indicated, there are a lot of great things, happening in our school district. First, I want to just update you on something very excited with regards to our National Merit Scholarship Program at Cactus Shadows High School. We have 8 students who are National Merit Commended students. So there's about 34,000 commended students throughout the nation. that are being recognized for their exceptional academic promise. Although they will not continue in the 2022 competition for the National Merit Scholarship, commended students place among the top 50,000 students who entered the competition by taking the PSAT. The commended students at Cactus Shadows High School are Tyler Hammersmark, Evelyn Higbee, Ryan Hewsome, Jason Lee, Adrian Paraga, Devin Peace, and Thomas Statz, and Chloe Tarkany. Now, we also have a National Merit Scholarship Program semifinalist named Ryan Tuffill. Of the 1.5 million entrants, some 50,000 with the highest PSAT score qualify for this recognition in this program. About 16,000, or approximately 1/3 of the 50,000 high scorers, are notified that they have qualified as semifinalists. So this is quite an honor for our Cactus Shadows High School students. On October 2nd, Saturday morning, we had our One Team Victory Day. We celebrated an inaugural first annual One Team Victory Day on Falcon Field. That took place with our football program, our exceptional students, our cheer and pom athletes as well. The purpose for this extravaganza was to bring a one-team unit mentality to our students. There was media there that gave very positive coverage. I was so proud of our students. We had over 200 students out there on a Saturday morning at 8 a.m., even earlier, setting up to help our students feel this recognition. It was wonderful. It was heartwarming. It was very family friendly, and we look forward to offering having this event for our families in the future. 2 weeks ago, Cave Creek hosted and Desert Willow hosted Mariola Sanchez Cascon from the Embassy of Spain's Education Office. I met with Mariola along with Dr. Jensen and Stacy Weiss. We spoke about Desert Willow's success with the Spanish world language continuing as a school, as an international Spanish academy. It was very exciting. We submitted our proposal to her. Mariola seemed very pleased with the support and the high standards that Desert Willow and our district has for students learning a world language. We helped her understand various budget constraints that we're working under, and she was very understanding. It was a very productive visit for Cave Creek and Desert Willow. Like President Hatcher, I want to echo the comments about our own Mr. Petnato. He was surprised at a staff meeting with the 12 News Miracle Maker Award, and the funny thing is he thought he was recognizing one of his teachers for like the Silver Apple Award. It's all on video, which is something else. But the recognition turned out to be for him and his family as they kind of have their personal journey in battling cystic fibrosis and bringing recognition and knowledge to that. So it was all caught on camera. I think this is a wonderful recognition and kind of typifies the wonderful leaders that we have in this district. Mrs. Rodriguez and I, we've been doing the road show with regards to our bond factual community presentations. We've presented just about everywhere. We've been presenting at the library, at the Holland Center. We presented at the Carefree Town Council. We presented at the Cave Creek Town Council as well. If people aren't able to tune in or attend those, there's a short voiceover on our webpage where they can click and listen for 8 or 9 minutes to hear the presentation. This past week, we had our third strategic planning session, where we started an internal review with our employees. We talked about employees, valuing employees, student success, community partnerships, operations and systems, student enrollment. We talked about a lot of things. We used a lot of data. And I'm very proud as the superintendent to bring to the board in the next few months a draft version of our strategic plan for the board to approve that attempts to capture the voice of many of the stakeholders in this community. And that will come to the board at a later date. Just a few quick things. We started our effectiveness project. The effectiveness project started through some committee work in September. That is being implemented so that we can have a new teacher and administrative evaluation system moving forward, so we can increase our teacher and leader effectiveness in what we're doing for our students. I was invited to present at the Scottsdale Association of Realtors. This was an honor to be invited to share some great things on leadership and, more importantly, the great things happening in our district. This Leadership Academy started in 1997, and as part of their Education Day, I was invited to present. So it was wonderful to be able to present to realtors who are very involved in our areas, and more heartwarming to have some of our own parents who are realtors approach me after the presentation and talk about how pleased they are with the things we're trying to do here in Cave Creek for their kids. And then lastly, last week was a home run. We had a wonderful homecoming a week full of homecoming events. I'm being told that these events may have been some of the most attended homecoming events that we've had. At our dance on Saturday night, we had almost 1,100 students, which is tremendous for a school dance. We appreciate the student council, Mrs. Zilka. They put in a tremendous amount of hard work, making the week one to remember for our kids. The home volleyball games were packed with students dressed in their spirit wear. The feast and fireworks started out with a dodgeball tournament that had over 16 teams that participated. And then the homecoming game was one of the most attended homecoming games with the entire home side bleachers being filled with our fans. And our boys played hard and got the win. And as I mentioned, we had almost 1,100 students come to our paint party dance. So you can say that school spirit is in full swing at Cactus Shadows, and good things are happening. That is my report.
Thank you, Dr. Monroe. Item 2, presentation of awards for schools and departments. 2.1, Carefree Cares Excellence Awards, presented by Dr. Court Monroe, Mayor Les Peterson, and Councilmember Croyer.
President Hatcher, members of the board, this is probably my favorite part of the meeting, is when we get to recognize excellence with our employees, all of these recognitions. So let me just read this little blurb for the audience. The Carefree Town Council sponsors a biannual recognition award given to a staff member at each of our 7 schools. The nominations are made by the principal at each site. The recipients of the Carefree Cares Excellence Award were honored at the October 5th, 2021 Carefree Town Council meeting last week, and they'll be recognized tonight with a certificate of excellence and a Carefree Cares pin at tonight's CCUSD governing board meeting. I'm repping right here, Mayor Peterson. I got it. So I'm going to come up and grab the mic, and I'd also like to welcome up Mayor Les Peterson, Councilmember Croyer, and also Councilmember DeLisio from the audience. Okay, let's see how this goes. So, yeah, come on up over here, Vince. And when I call your name, come up and receive your award. And what we'll do is we'll take an individual picture with you real quickly, and then we'll have you stand to the side, and then we'll take a group picture at the end. Is this the best place to do this, right here?
Probably. This will work fine.
Okay.
May I say a word before we start?
Sure.
Thank you. This program is an outgrowth of a meeting that Dr. Burdick and I attended roughly 4 years ago. And it was with most of the superintendents from throughout of education from throughout the valley, and also a lot of the mayors and county administrative people. And we were talking about what can we do to make our collective school systems better. And on the way out, and during the meeting, people were talking about, here's what we should ask the legislature to do, here's what we should ask the county supervisors, et cetera. But in the parking lot as we were leaving, Dr. Burdick and I looked at each other and said, it really starts with us. We should do the absolute best we can before we go to others to help us. So as an outgrowth of that, both from the administration here at the school and at the town, we developed the Carefree Cares program, which is hands down, like Dr. Monroe, our favorite thing all year, to see the teachers, the staff members that are helping, that are working with, that are molding, that are training the kids and the youth of tomorrow. So this is an outstanding staff, and these are those who were selected for making an unusually, how do I say it, the contribution above and beyond what they have. So thank you to the entire staff. Carefree does care. I'll give you an example. There's gift cards here also. Those come from the people in the Carefree town offices. If you go in and have something notarized and they charge you $5, this is where it ends up. They contribute all this money just to show you what they think of CCUSD and all the people here.
Well said. You should consider running for mayor. Mayor, that was well said. Okay, Sonoran Trails Middle School, Haley Arnold. Congratulations, Haley. We're going to make you stand in the middle here. Get a picture. Okay, studio guys. Where are we looking? Right here? Okay. So, okay. So Haley, stand right over here if you would to the side. And Black Mountain Elementary School, Ayako Holtz. I don't think she's here. Did I get the name right? Okay, I've been practicing. So, okay, from Horseshoe Trails Elementary School, Randy Huffer. From Desert Sun Academy, let's see, Danielle Mielishin. Okay, from Lone Mountain Elementary School, Lindy Murillo. From Desert Willow Elementary School, Lisa Tibbetts. And from Cactus Shadows High School, Allison Zilka. Picture really quickly, everybody. See how the best way to do it. Maybe we go up on the steps. Maybe the winners are down here in front. These look okay? Congratulations. Thank you, man. Thank you, Vince. Thanks for coming. Thank you. See you, Councilmember Roy. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 2.2, Desert Sun Academy Excellence Awards, presented by Dr. Court Monroe and Mr. Aaron Bagwell.
Okay, before we recognize the people that we have from Desert Sun, Mr. Owsley, you want to come up? Last month, our student who we were going to recognize wasn't able to be here, so we want to recognize her tonight. So is Peyton Day here? Come on up, Peyton. Congratulations. Which one's for? Do we have one of these for Peyton? Okay, I want to read something about Peyton, okay? It might embarrass you. Is that okay? Okay, because it's going to be good. It's going to be really good. Peyton has been a part of the Black Mountain family long before she attended. She attended preschool at Black Mountain. She's currently in 4th grade. She's an amazing student. If you ask any of her teachers, they will tell you that she's very meticulous and one of the most organized students. That's a great trait to have. She is always willing to mentor other students. She's a great help in keeping her mom on task, who is presently a 2nd grade teacher also at Black Mountain. Congratulations.
Forgot what a great softball player she is, too.
Okay, Mr. Bagwell, come on up. So from Desert Sun, we'd like to recognize staff member Sandrine Galley. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Come stand in between us here. Okay. How was the last name there? Is that okay? Okay. All right. All right. 1 for 2. DSA would like to recognize Sandrine Galley to be our staff member for the Cave Creek Excellence Awards for the school year. 2 years ago, she came to us from France to help support our world language program. As we are all aware, a pandemic hit during the process, and we wondered if she was even going to make it to Arizona. Madame Galley not only made it to Arizona, but she's become a very important part of our staff. She's always positive, willing to help a colleague, and step up whenever we have a need. Together with Madame Fisno, they have kept our French program going, and they're providing students with an awesome opportunity to learn a second language. Her instruction in French is top-notch. Her students love and respect her. Unfortunately, she must return home after the school year and take her learning from here in the USA and share it with her French colleagues. Cave Creek would like to thank her for taking a risk, coming to the desert to teach her language, and ultimately supporting our school and district better than expected. Thank you, Madame Galley, for all you've done and will do these past 2 school years. You are the perfect example of what this award means. Congratulations. So I'd like to read the community member who received the award. She was not able to attend tonight, but I'd like to read it, and then we can give her a round of applause after the fact. But her name is Marla Riney. Marla is a community member who is earning the CCUSD Excellence Award tonight. Marla has stepped up and was our PTO president during the COVID year, which was extremely challenging. She and her board of 3 were very successful in coming up with creative fundraisers and events for our school. This year, she has taken the lead in getting out the information regarding the Cave Creek Bond and how it will not only benefit DSA, but the entire district and community. Her best trait is her perseverance, as getting volunteers can be a challenge, but she always seems to make it work. We're so fortunate to have her as a member of our community. We look forward to seeing what her impact can be on DSA for many years to come. Thank you, Marla, for all you do representing DSA in our district. Your passion and drive to make our school and district better and supporting our teachers and their students is invaluable. Let's give her a round of applause. Okay, and our DSA student, Eliana Dewey. Come on up, Eliana. All right, Eliana, how'd I do on your name? Okay, good. I'm getting better. She's a new Coyote this year. She's currently in the 6th grade. She's an outstanding student. She does excellent work each day. She's an independent learner who has a thirst for knowledge and new challenges and certainly keeps the adults around her on their toes. She is currently reading at a 1,450 Lexile level, which is above a 12th grade level. Incredible at her young age. She is a very kind and helpful person who cares deeply about her classmates. At Desert Sun, We have a vision of what a perfect student looks like, and she checks almost every box without a doubt. That's awesome. We are so excited to see what she can bring to Cave Creek as she heads off to middle school and high school next year. Keep up the great work, and thank you for being such a great example and leader for your peers, Eliana. Congratulations.
Thank you. Anybody here for the Desert Sun presentations who don't want to remain, this would be a good time for you to leave. But I'd also like to say that normally we don't have a crowd of this size. And it's kind of neat that y'all were here to see our staff recognized and our kids recognized, because that's why we're all here. So thank you. Item 3, public comments. We have a few of them, so I'll read the admonition. Call to the public. According to ARS 38-431.01H, I'm going to wait a second. Governing board members may not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public. The only allowable responses a governing board member may make are, number 1, board member may respond if there is a direct criticism of the board member. 2, board member may direct staff to look into a matter. Or 3, board member can ask to have this item placed on a future agenda. Speakers need to be mindful of what they say when presenting to the board. Inappropriate comments could be considered slanderous. We have 19 comments, so there will be 2 minutes per person. And we'll begin with Elizabeth Mantell. Pardon me ahead of time if I mispronounce names.
Board members, President Hatcher, Dr. Monroe, I oppose mask mandates at school. When I'm on school grounds, the majority of kids... Oh. Is it on? Sorry. Oh. Board members, President Hatcher, Dr. Monroe, I oppose mask mandates at school. When I'm on school grounds, the majority of the kids are maskless, which tells me the majority of parents are okay with their kids not wearing masks. Per CDC, COVID can be transmitted via the eyes, so will wearing a mask stop droplets from entering a child's eyes from another child who pulls their mask down to sneeze or cough? A child who pulls their mask down to put their finger in their nose or mouth and touch something another kid will touch, will wearing a mask protect that child who touches their eyes after touching that contaminated object? Some kids need to wear masks for their own medical reasons, or perhaps they are fearful. Other kids will be hindered by wearing masks, such as kids with learning challenges, who needs to see the lips of the person speaking to them, whether a teacher or fellow student, or kids with physical/medical challenges. So how is it okay to choose one group of kids' needs over another group of kids' needs? It's not okay, it's wrong. You're not going to make everyone happy, so don't choose just one side. You compromise by continuing to make masks optional. Let parents make their own decisions daily on whether or not their child, not yours, should wear a mask at school. I don't know any of you personally. I'm sure you all are lovely people. But with all due respect, I don't want you or other parents in this district making this choice for my child. Thank you.
Thank you. Corey Franick. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly.
Hi guys, my name's Corey, Mr. Superintendent, board members of the board. I was just having a lovely conversation with the mayor over here this morning, or right before the meeting. He said that in public office, the general consensus that he's learned is that with 70%, when you have a 30% consensus, it's usually a good thing in public office. So if you raise your hand and you're for the mask mandate, and you're in this room, you could see that right now. If you want the mask mandate, you raise your hand right now. And then if you raise your other hand, if you're doing a consensus, if you oppose the mask mandate, when you're in public office and you see a consensus of a room, you respond. especially when you oppose what you're voting for. Because when you're elected in here, guys, listen, we all love our children. I have 4 beautiful daughters. My little girl fell at Desert Sun last year and collapsed, wearing her mask and playing on the playground. I have to wear an oxygen meter. And when you wear an oxygen meter and you put a mask on, I went out and ran laps in the baseball field like I did when I was in high school. And my oxygen drops below 70%. And when you understand what happens to a child when they're wearing a mask and they're playing on the playground, we're going to need to have paramedics on standby. I used to be a firefighter in the military. We need to have paramedics on standby on the playgrounds if we want to support this. If you support masks, good for you. But if you don't, we need you guys to stand up for our kids, for my daughters, please.
Thank you. Miss Jessica Fitzwater. Jessica Fitzwater.
Hi, my name is Jessica Fitzwater. Sorry. Last year, my 4-year-old son, who has special needs, was forced to wear a mask. I followed the rules, even though my heart and my brain were telling me this was and is wrong. My sweet boy became sad, regressed in his speech, and his demeanor completely changed. I was told by staff and others that he would be fine because he could comply. He was 4 years old. He had no speech whatsoever. I am his voice. He was emotionally and psychologically impacted by your decisions. We as parents should have the choice to make these medical choices for our children because they were our children, not yours. Public schools have no business in making any medical decisions for our children, no matter what. Why are we even discussing masking small children again when we know and science has proven that masks don't prevent the spread of this virus? You aren't doing this for our children's safety. The virus doesn't affect children like it does adults over the age of 65. Masks don't protect our children. They cause more harm, like bacterial pneumonia, developmental regressions, skin irritations, dizziness, fainting, so many more harmful side effects. Also, I would like to point out that most of our staff and adults and some children have been vaccinated. So if they are protected by the vaccine, why are we masking children again? The choice should be left to the parents, not to the schools. I'm not fighting for not masking. If you want to wear a mask and you want your child to wear a mask, that is fine. But us, the people that don't want to mask our children, who have medical needs, shouldn't have to. Thank you.
Aaron Stifel. Aaron Stifel. Ms. Scotto, Mr. Stifel has 4 minutes. He's speaking for Tamara Stifel.
May I pass something to the board? Before the beginning of the school year, CCUSD made the decision to have school in person with no mask mandate. Now, going into our 3rd month, there has not been a large surge in this community. Did some kids get sick? Sure. It happens every year. We all know that. After watching the last board meeting, I sent the board and Superintendent Monroe the following evidence that I just passed around to you guys. According to the Johns Hopkins COVID website, Arizona's case, deaths, hospitalizations, positive tests are lower than the first 2 waves and have flattened in the last 90 days. On our own website on Cave Creek School District, the current dashboard is at 0.32. That is less or at the same amount as last year when we had kids and we needed to have masks last year when we didn't know about this disease that well. For tonight's future agendas discussion, Vice President Fortney is proposing the following, and I quote, CCUSD Governing Board and Superintendent discuss and vote on requiring masks for A, all students and staff, or B, students K through 6 and staff. We as parents want to know one simple question. Why now? Why now? There's no evidence in your thought process. Do you have evidence that is needed? We ask our students to show references on their homework. Where are your references? Not talking about, texts that you got from people or phone calls or emails, as that's personal beliefs. I'm asking for scientific evidence providing that this is the best interest in our community at this time. And oh, by the way, are those the only two options? Either A, all mandate masks for everybody, or B, mandate masks for some. On August 20th, the board sent out a survey regarding masks. 57% of the parents, school, students, and staff all do not want masks. Period, end of story. So what is the concern? I think the concern that we all have been throughout this process has been deaths and hospitalizations. According to the CDC website, school-aged children on this page, unfortunately, we've had a total of 406 kids that died from this. Just to put this in perspective, in 2017 and 2018, flu deaths were similar at 369. Should be noted that the flu season only lasts for 5 or 6 months, and this has lasted so far for 18 months, a year and a half. Okay? Oh, this is fascinating. So if you look on this chart, okay, and he's holding up the sign, guys, it is really sad how this has affected a lot of the elderly, but this is not affecting our children at all. Even during the first and second spike, our children, school-age children, did not go up. So,
Ms. Scott, was that 4? That's 2.
I'm sorry?
Sorry.
10 seconds? Okay. So, my question is real simple. Why? I'd like to know why. Why now?
That's time. Thank you. The next speaker, Pete Nassos. And 4 minutes, Ms. Scotto.
I was cut down. I'm going to try to make it as brief as I can. I'm also speaking on 8-1 as well. Board, should you decide that you'd like to move forward and accept an opportunity to vote on masks for the staff and students, all of us parents expect the following, and maybe more from you, Gal. Number 1, a presentation of specific reasons for masking, evidence, scientific studies showing that masks are effective for the purposes of your proposed vote. Expert psychiatrist testimony to inform the board on mental impact of masks, along with analysis on student well-being, especially suicide rates, depression in children in Arizona, and how these are exceeding COVID deaths. We'd like an explanation by council in an open meeting explaining why the board has the legal authority to dictate healthcare decisions to us in contravention of parental medical decisions. Tell us, please, why the governing board should contravene the state policy with pending litigation over the issue right now. We'd like an explanation on how a cotton mask that has holes 50 times the size of a virus, therefore wholly ineffective, should be forced on the majority who do not want forced submission against their civil rights. We also do know that the mask wearing has been shown to increase chance of infection from bacteria and other viruses. Masks can also psychologically traumatize our children. Masks are a daily reminder to our children that something is just not right in this world, and stress and fear are more dangerous to children than COVID. And now when our children are trying to get back to normal, you want to put a mask on them again. It's almost baffling to me every time at the end of every week, the principal calls and says, wow, is there another great week in school? Meanwhile, our kids are not learning. Teachers aren't showing up. Depression's at an all-time high. Drug and alcohol abuse is at an all-time high. Children have cut marks on their bodies. Kids sit on their phones all day in class. They're destroying school property and much more. I don't know, board. Maybe you guys should be focusing on things that are more serious than a mask. Lastly, Mr. Fortney, I'm going to address this to you since you're the one bringing this to the table. So I ask you to pay attention to this hypocritical picture of you without a mask on Friday night's homecoming game. Thousands of people passed you that night, and you must have forgotten your mask. We also shook your hand as you extended it without any hesitation. When we asked you where your mask was, you stated you were vaccinated. And today, your science tells us that the vaccine doesn't work anywhere near how it was promised. And in fact, the vaccinated are also the ones spreading the virus. This reminds me a little bit about last year at this time when we were discussing opening the schools and teachers threatened not to come back. They were scared. They didn't want to get sick. But yet they were caught all over social media, all over at the lake, the parties, they're at the bars, partying it up with no masks, rubbing shoulders with everyone, without a care in the world. They were scared of the children that don't transmit viruses. It was interesting, in early August, CNN told us that 4 teachers in Florida died because the children were not masked up in a state where the governor was against masks. What CNN forgot to tell us was all that the school wasn't even in session yet. Mr. Fortney, I don't know where you're from. You presented yourself as an independent to get voted in here in our little town of Cave Creek. But yet you promote the radical on your Facebook page regarding woke views, CRT, and now you want to mask our children.
Thank you. Time's up. Next speaker, Mrs.
If this is what you believe, so
sir,
be it.
Time is up. Time is up.
I'm going to finish.
Sir.
I'm going to finish in 30 seconds.
Sir, time is up. Mrs. Fortney, you're next.
I was supposed to have 6 minutes. I'd like to finish. It's 30 seconds.
Not 6 minutes. 4 minutes. 4 minutes.
Mr. Fortney, if this is what you believe, so be it. We can agree to disagree. I don't have an issue with that.
Sir.
But you're not going to force your views down the throats of our children and our parents anymore.
Mrs. Fortney, come on up.
Good evening, President Hatcher and board members. Thank you for the time to speak. I want to go on record that I do support a discussion of mask requirements in school at a future board meeting. Much like the open discussion we're having here, it's perfectly acceptable to be had in public. Please vote yes so the discussion can continue. I will not state my reasons as they are sure to be covered by upcoming speakers. I do want to thank each and every board member for considering this and every issue brought before them and using their best judgment on what they think is best for the district, primarily our students. There has been and will be lots of vitriol and misinformation. Such as that. I do have children and a grandchild in the school, but that's irrelevant.
The rest of you, Ms. Fortney, hold on a minute. Ms. Scotto, please stop that. We're going to give one another the same respect that you've given the previous speakers. So please show respect whether you disagree with someone or not. We can't hear her.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go back a line. There's been lots of vitriol and misinformation, including taking pictures of my family in public without consent and then spreading misinformation. We believe in the science that says masks are not needed outdoors when you are vaccinated. So we do not wear them outdoors. But as many folks here have said, That's not your business either. So I would just like to go on record that the school board members are not paid. Many people are saying this is for money and power. None of these people are paid, and they are not motivated by power. 1 vote out of 5 is not any sort of power. They are volunteer servants to their community. There are board members up here that I don't agree with many of the policies, but I would never post a picture of them on social media, call them names, and then share it around and insult each other. These days, all topics seem divisive. No matter what decision these makers make, there will be a significant number of community members unhappy. So please just be kind and civil.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, Tara Radoian.
Good evening. My name is Tara Radoian. I have an 8th grade son currently at Sonoran Trails Middle School. I also have a daughter that graduated Cactus Shadows 2 years ago. I strongly do not agree with any mask mandates per existing state statute ARS 1601 and 1602. Parents are the final decision maker in their child's upbringing, including medical decisions. To further enforce masks on our children is a violation of this existing state statute. ARS 1601, Parents' Rights Protected. A, it says the liberty of parents to direct the upbringing, education, health care, and mental health of their children is a fundamental right. But upon further digging into Arizona's legal definition of what schools fall under, according to ARS 15-101-23, it states school district means a political subdivision of the state, which means ARS 1601 must be protected and upheld when it comes to a public school. This is a medical decision protected by the Arizona Parental Handbook. With some further research, I also see that Arizona is supposed to get another $862 million in federal COVID relief money. And I feel that this is sudden vote, maybe possible mandate, is driven by money and not about the health of our children. Our children should never be used for political and monetary gain. Last year, when my son had to wear a mask, he would come home daily, with headaches, extra tired. He had skin irritations all on his face where the masks were. This year, with him not wearing them, all of these symptoms have completely resolved. They are also breeding grounds for bacteria. They're not stopping the spread. Do you know how many times a day a kid pulls up and down and touches their mask? For them to even work, they have to be properly fitted. A group of parents in Gainesville, Florida, sent 6 masks to the lab, and they found all bacteria and pneumonia-related illnesses on them.
Next speaker, Jalen Griffin.
Can I have 3 minutes?
2 minutes.
Okay. Dr. Monroe, gifted, Lone Mountain, no teacher. Okay, we talked about that. So a lot of parents have talked, and I'm here. I have a scientific background. I work for a global medical device company. I have a degree. So I like science. It's all about science, not emotion. So I'm here to speak a little bit of science. The other gentleman had some really good data. I don't have that. I have some articles here that I'm going to provide to Dr. Monroe because I can't speak to all of them, okay? So what has changed? Mask versus mask or no mask? There's no new science, only politics and a narrative. That's it. Okay, so I have another article here, has a full page of everything that can be affected by masks. The one thing I wanted, psychological effects, has been talked about, fear, mood disruptions, insomnia, fatigue, depression, suicide rates have gone through the roof, more so than deaths of children from COVID. That's a fact, all right? Strep, staph, headaches, anxiety, depression, hypertension, mask mouth, oral ulcers. The list is long, okay? So there's no real science behind masking children, okay? And I also have some more scientific data to prove the risk for children to get and die from COVID is so low. It's like less than 0.008, 99.9% chance of surviving COVID. That's even in adults, especially if we use pre-treatment. It's all about pre-treatments. That's what the government's not talking about. We have treatments out there. We're not using them. Okay, so that's another fact. And I'll cut it short because I'm going to provide all this information to Dr. Monroe, but another report found wearing a mask longer than 4 hours a day decreased cognitive precision, headaches, sweating, and encourages dehydration and bacterial infections. And verbal speech is affected, okay? So there's a lot of emotional, mental things that go on in children. They need that. Okay, there can be no keener revelation of
Time
a
is up.
society's soul
Thank
than
you.
the way in which it treats its children.
Ma'am, time's up.
Nelson Mandela.
Susan Clancy, next speaker. Susan Clancy.
Susan Clancy, Cave Creek. I know what it's like to sit up there. Did it for a long time. But I'm here to thank Dr. Monroe for the effort that he has put in to bring our budget back into where it needs to be. But I'm also imploring this administration and the governing board members to do an audit. People need to understand where the money went before they're going to truly vote for things. And the past administration brought us into a $2.5, $3.5, $4.5 million debt, and that's unconscionable. It's unconscionable for parents and for students and teachers. And I know as I walked in, it looks like they want to recall all of you, which is a very uphill battle, but I think that's the first place to start because there's a lot of budget problems that we have. And thank you for your time.
Next speaker, Mrs. Vanessa Clifton.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Vanessa Clifton, and I have 3 CCUSD students. I'm here to voice my opinion regarding the future item on the mask mandate, obviously. I'm going to try and bring this down, but in my research, I went more to what is your role as a school board? Your role as a school board from the Arizona School Board Association, among its numerous responsibilities, is to set the direction for the district. And that involves extensive involvement from the staff and community. Yes, the community. These people all sitting right here. You are responsible for the envision of the future of the public schools in this community and working collaboratively with the parents for moving the organization towards the community's vision for its schools. The community's vision, not the board's vision. On August 20th, in the CCUSD Weekly, it was sent out asking how families felt about masks in schools. The response was overwhelming. You know how this community feels about this. Why are we being ignored? Why are we even talking about this again? It's absolutely ridiculous. This district, our students are not an at-risk population, and our teachers are vaccinated with roughly 59.3% of all Arizonans. We're there. We're approaching the finish line. This district has so many more pressing issues that it needs to focus on. We have abysmal enrollment rates in this district. Less than 50% of the students that live in CCUSD boundaries go to school here. Our budget is a mess. We need this bond, and what this is doing is decreasing the community's faith in you to do what we want you to do with the money that our students need. The entire state of Arizona is AZ2.
Okay, time. Thank you.
I'd just like to say a mask mandate doesn't prevent people
Time
who
is up.
want masks to wear them. You're welcome
Ms.
to wear them.
Catherine Fay, next speaker.
Hello, board members, Dr. Monroe, Dr. Jensen, other administrative folks. I cannot believe we are here again. There is no reason to have any kind of future mask mandate on the agenda. A survey already went out to the CCUSD community and the majority has spoken. The majority said no mask mandate. It is so stupid that we're even having a conversation. It's mind-blowing. We do not need or want a forced mask mandate, also known as a form of child abuse, on our kids. There is absolutely no reason for this. There is no science, data, or evidence supporting the need. Things are better and getting better the way they are. Masks are optional. Our numbers of COVID as a percent of total is extremely low. Our enrollment is finally back up because CCUSD stated in-person learning and mask as a choice at the beginning of the school year, not a mandate. Masks are horribly harmful to children. They cause isolation, social and emotional trauma, and that can cause depression and suicide. It also causes extreme difficulty in learning and hearing. So I thought, why is this being brought up? Why now? Because it's obviously a political agenda by one person on this board, and that's Mr. Fortney, and that's it. It's the same person at our homecoming and all over the school and all over the community with no mask. 'Tis for thee, and not for me. Stop wasting everyone's time with this nonsense and get back to all the pressing issues that we have in this community. Thank you.
Next speaker, Vincent Carlson. Mr. Carlson has, are you speaking for someone else? No.
Hi, Board.
2 minutes.
Hi, Court. Masks are the only way to ensure our children can continue uninterrupted education. By the district rules, an unmasked child testing positive with COVID will force quarantine on a child within 6-foot radius of that child for 15 minutes. If that child was wearing a mask, that distance would be reduced to 3 feet. The difference in square footage is 400%. One masked child in the center of a classroom can send home nearly every student. Most of our children are in class with more than 30 kids, the majority of whom are unmasked. This is a recipe for repeated quarantines, and it in fact is one right now. 4th grade class in Black Mountain has been quarantined 4 times in as many weeks. Is it better to have a class with only 4 students able to attend because of a maskless student testing positive, which in reality, or have only 4 students sent home when a masked student tests positive? Children under 12 have only 2 defenses from COVID at this time. Masks or separation from kids possibly carrying COVID. I prefer my child be in a school with a mask rather than be physically separated from others after exposure, separation that is necessary because my child may be carrying COVID. Last year we did it. We held class in person. The masks were a key. This year we have vaccinations to protect some staff and students. Those can choose not to wear a mask, but masks are still necessary for the youngest who have no other defenses. This year, the numbers are clear. Districts without masks repeatedly have higher cases of students, teachers, and staff infected with COVID. As a result, countless kids have to go back to remote learning. COVID is not over.
Thank you. Next speaker, Kathleen Thorius. Dr. Kathleen Thorius. 2 minutes.
Dr. Monroe, President Hatcher, members of the board, I'm Dr. Kathleen Torius. Thank you for receiving my comments. 2 foundations of democracy report my comments tonight. First, individual rights and community responsibilities go hand in hand. We are either one team or we're not. A healthy democracy requires an informed electorate and informed representatives. To this point, the district's choice to minimize research, data, and recommendations from every public health agency across the state, the county, and the country have restricted my ability to keep my child safe in Cave Creek School, a public institution with compulsory attendance. COVID does not follow a my child, my choice rationale as it's been emphasized in some of my neighbors' comments. Your choice impacts my child, who has significant medical history with virus-related respiratory arrest, unconscious ambulance rides, and surgeries. In CCUSD, those who do not mask far outnumber those who do, yet an unmasked child, to Mr. Carlson's point, who tested positive and sits in the middle of a classroom, has the potential to quarantine an entire classroom of children. First quarter, my child has been quarantined twice. In the past week, we've received 3 more emails about non-direct exposure to a peer was positive at school. The district and board must ensure transparent, complete
public health data to shape masking policy. I request the board make public the total students quarantined, the total school days lost to quarantine, aggregated and disaggregated by school and grade level, along with the exact process of contact tracing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Tara, and I'm going to mispronounce this probably, Monchief or Monsief? Sorry.
My name is Tara Moncrief, and I have a freshman student at Cactus Shadows. I am here today to speak about my feelings about the potential mask mandates for our students here in Cave Creek District. I have been an RN for over 25 years and have worked in various areas of nursing here in the Phoenix area my entire career. Currently, I work in post-surgical care and have been working in this area for 18 years. When my patients were mandated to be masked in the spring of 2020, I noticed the following things happen. My patients had an immediate and noticeable decrease in oxygenation, requiring oxygen intervention, increased rates of nausea requiring medication, increased anxiety requiring intervention, and an increase in lethargy at times, hindering the overall recovery times. When masks were mandated for my children, I witnessed the following in them: an increase in irritability at the end of the day, an increase in headaches, and an increase in fatigue. I have here 6 research scientific articles that lay out the rationale for why masks are ineffective and particularly why they are dangerous in children. Masks do not prevent the spread or containment of viruses, including COVID-19. In fact, masks are the equivalent of strapping a chain link fence to your face and expecting dirt and sand knots to get into your nose and mouth in a massive dust storm. That's how tiny virus particles are actually compared to the fiber in the masks. The definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and expect a different result. Masks are not effective. They do not prevent the spread or containment of viruses. It has been tried without any evidence of success. Therefore, I do not believe that masks should be mandated in Cave Creek District. I want you guys to refer to this research. I'm going to leave it with you. I've tagged a lot of just simple things regarding children and masks. This is a lot of information, only 6 articles, but it's a lot of information, all medical. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, Laura Walls. Laura Walls.
Hello, board. My name's Laura Walls. I have a student at Sonoran Trails. I'm here to speak on the mask mandate today. I've been a nurse now for 17 years. I've been working COVID. I see this every day, and the masks are really not effective. They're not helping prevent the spread of COVID. Anything that we do in the medical field, there's a risk-benefit analysis, and the risk to our children who have almost no chance of being harmed by COVID, the risk is very scary. This is an article by the Journal of Microbiology and Immunology, and it's explaining why children are not susceptible to COVID for the most part. And so much of it has to do with their beautiful immune system. God has given them just a powerful innate immune system. When you wear a mask, especially on a child, they don't have the reserve that adults do. And a lowered oxygen, increased carbon dioxide, that can actually harm their immune systems. And we as parents can never use our children as a shield against adults. That is not how any of this will ever work. We are not going to mask our children to protect others, especially not to protect adults, when it is something that can cause them harm. There's study after study. I mean, it just goes on and on. Physical effects, psychological effects, and it's very sad to see children feel like they don't have a voice, feel like they're suffocating, like my son and many other children on the playground at recess especially. They can't breathe, and they feel they will be punished if they pull down a mask to breathe. This is the Constitution of the United States, and this is why I'm here. Okay, thank you. This is about freedom and personal choice. That is all this is about. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Ms. Nancy Bartow. Ms. Nancy Bartow.
Thank you very much. I very much appreciate your service, Governing Board, Superintendent Monroe. And I really appreciate you considering this topic tonight. My name is Nancy Bartow, State Senator for District 15. I'm also a parent and a grandparent. And tonight I speak as a member of the legislature which spoke loud and clear this session in support of the existing and stated fundamental right of parents in the Title I, 601 and 602 that was previously mentioned to, quote, direct the upbringing, education, health care, and mental health of their children, unquote. The definition section in the Parents' Bill of Rights in Section 602 is even more explicit in A and A numeral 5. Quote, all parental rights are reserved to a parent of a minor child without obstruction or interference from this state, any political subdivision of this state, any other governmental entity, or any other institution, including, number 5, the right to make health care decisions for the minor child, including the rights pursuant to other sections in statute. These are rights reserved for parents of a minor child. And when we passed House Bill 2898 last session, it clarified these rights that empower parents to make decisions that are in the best interest of their child. With the passage of House Bill 2898, no school or local government can require children to wear a face mask or receive the experimental COVID-19 vaccine for in-person attendance. These policies do not preclude a parent from making that choice for their child, but they do give options to parents and make sure that certain kids are not excluded for the benefits of in-person education. We know the law is enjoined.
Thank you.
But I am hopeful that it will be upheld in the end, and I urge you not to
Senator.
take this step in the meantime. Thank you very much.
Next speaker, Randolph Bartholomew. Randolph Bartholomew.
How long do I got?
2 minutes.
Okay. I don't know any of you, and I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank everybody here that's concerned parents. I answered my nation's call in 1974 and was forward deployed for 20 years to hold on to benefits for everybody else, and I gave mine up. Well, I retired, and I want my freedoms back. And I had them back for a while. And being in the military, and later on I retired as a firefighter EMT lieutenant, I also believe I should be apolitical. But I can no longer remain silent because I see our freedoms being stripped. A mandate is just a request. There's no teeth behind it. And what really brought me to this meeting tonight is listening that the nation's school boards wrote a letter to the Attorney General saying they're feeling threatened and they want people investigated for people like me coming up and talking to you. Well, here I am. If you want all information, I'll give it to you. I want my freedoms back. I want my children to be free. I don't want no CRT or any other name. I don't want no pornography, book, literature, or anything else in our schools. You got an uphill battle to win my vote for the bond. You overspent last year, and you're not doing the will of the people. You're fighting them tooth and nail. I recommend somebody call me from the school board with some ideas how to get my vote. And ignoring these people is not it.
Thank you. That concludes the public comments. Item 4, presentations, information reports. 4.1, Cognia CSHS accreditation report, presented by Mrs. Nancy Scott, Mrs. Sarah Barella, and Ms. Lori Hart.
President Hatcher, members of the board, Dr. Monroe, and the community. I am extremely excited to introduce the next presentation on the Cognia accreditation process.
Ms. Scott, you want to
I'll
wait a
wait.
second?
Pop up on this board here. Show up there. Okay. Okay, Mrs. Scott, really close to your mouth there with the microphone.
All right, can everybody hear me, I hope?
Yes.
Well, I'm extremely excited to introduce the next presentation on the Cognia accreditation process. I would like to ask Mrs. Sarah Barella, current Cactus Shadows principal, and Mrs. Lori Hart, a 19-year Cactus Shadows High School award-winning teacher, up to the podium. And Mrs. Hart actually served on the original Cognia team. Cognia, which is formerly Advanced Ed, is a nationally recognized accreditation to schools. It focuses on our student learning, equitable resource allocation, and effective leadership. Cognia accreditation demonstrates to our community our commitment to excellence and that we embrace the opportunity for an external review of our system and utilize the feedback for continuous improvement so that we can be the best that we can be on behalf of our students. And so now I'm extremely proud to give you guys the podium and presentation.
President Hatcher, members of the governing board, Superintendent Dr. Monroe, and community members. I want to thank you for this opportunity to share some of the amazing things our teachers, students, and community do to help our students learn and grow. I'm excited to walk into a school with usable data to move Cactus Shadows forward. As a team, we will take this data and continue to grow and become better than we are today.
Sarah, you can remove, if you want to hold the mic, you can remove it too. Like if you want to take it off, might be a little easier.
I might go karaoke then.
Yes, yes, that might be a little easier.
So I want to take a minute to recognize the team who participated in the Cognia review. All via Zoom, this amazing team spent countless hours gathering and sharing data with Cognia for Cactus Shadows to become accredited. Tony Vining, last year's principal, Tandell Collington, athletic director and assistant principal, Lori Umbarger, previous assistant principal, teacher Lori Hart, classified member Debbie Dowd, all of our teachers and staff at Cactus Shadows, parents, students, and governing board members. We appreciate your time commitment to get this process done. So Cognia has been around for 125 years. It's one of the most well-known accrediting companies. They expect us to use the results to guide our unique improvement journey, and that's what we intend to do. So they use a set of rigorous kind of rubric to look at what we have going on at our school. It's an outside perspective that comes in and takes a look at Cactus Shadows High School to provide us feedback to do what's in the best interest of our students and our community. There are 3 phases once you get this data. The first phase is the results initiative to achieve better results for our students. The second phase of improvement, it's a journey that we gather and evaluate results of the actions to improve as a team. And the third phase is impact. Are we getting the desired practices, and are they deeply entrenched within our system?
Okay, so how did the process work? A review team came to Cactus Shadows in April, and we had provided them with artifacts before they arrived. Actually, they didn't arrive. We did it over Zoom. And that added a lot of challenges, as you can imagine, because normally during an accreditation process, they come to visit the classrooms, they call students out, they meet one-on-one with teachers and staff, and we had to do it all in these Zoom rooms, which was not nearly as fun. But they came via Zoom, they talked to all the admin, the staff, the governing board members, and the students. And they had a chance to meet with people about what they had collected with the artifacts. Oops. Did two things at once. So they evaluated the school using 3 different domains. The leadership capacity domain takes a look at the leadership of the school, and they look at things like how was the governing authority adhered to? How did they adhere to a code of ethics? And they explained to us that they did this by reading a lot of the governing board minutes and governing board agenda, and they could see the ethics involved with the things that were presented to you that you would approve for the high school. And so that was a part of the review process. The second capacity they looked at was the learning capacity. And one of the things they mentioned that they were very impressed with was the variety of programs we offer for students. So trying to deal with different types of learners. By providing EVIT, you guys know about EVIT, the East Valley Institute of Technology, our CTE, Career Technical Education programs, the International Baccalaureate program, pre-AP and AP, all provide opportunities for different types of learners. And then the third domain they evaluated was resource capacity, where they take a look at our resources. And one of the things they came back with was they were really impressed with the people that you hire. And they noticed that we can attract and retain personnel who support the institution's purpose and direction. And that was one thing that they looked at. So, yay, worthy of a celebration, we received an Index Educational Quality IEQ of 284.5. And what that means is that we scored higher than the range of all of the institutions that they evaluated for accreditation in the last 5 years. So this is cause for celebration. And Sarah shared this with our staff today at a staff meeting, and everyone was clapping. I mean, it was really great news, yes. And I do have to add that an especially challenging accomplishment during a year of COVID and changes in leadership and a lot of different changes going on. Okay, so when they were done going through our artifacts and talking to everybody, they identified strengths and things to focus on. And one of the strengths they looked at was our resources. And they especially pointed out that our administration provides direction to the staff on effective instructional practices. They give us collaborative time to work, and that there are a variety of student support services. We have groups that are available for students, and we have lots of mental health professionals and supports available for students who are experiencing challenges. The next theme that they discovered or talked about that they thought was a strength was that we provide professional learning opportunities to improve the learning environment. And they talk about the programs and services that we offer focus on students' career and their future. And they talked a lot about that. And I can speak to that as I teach journalism, and my students often come back to me years later, and they talk about the value of creating a product, because in the class they have to create, it's real life. You know, they can't miss a deadline, or we can't print the paper. And they'll come back years later. Some of them go on to journalism, but many of them, it doesn't matter what career they're in, they talk about how that experience prepared them for the real world. So I think that that's something that they noticed, the Cognia team noticed. And then the third area that they found strength in was student engagement. They found evidence that there is a strong belief within the school that all students can succeed.
So I'm going to address our areas of focus. We had a couple. One was data analysis, that we need to develop a process to look at what we want our students to learn, how they're going to learn it, what we do when they don't get it, and what we do when they do. Additionally, how do we use data to inform our instruction? Additionally, in conjunction with, for theme 5, our curriculum alignment. So as Lori mentioned, we have lots of different opportunities for our students at Cactus Shadows. They've got the IB program, the AP program. We have career and technical education, EVIT opportunities, just lots of different things for our students to kind of figure out who they are and what they want to be. But we need to develop a focus to make sure that all of our students are teaching the same curriculum within the same content area. So the district has actually developed a programming committee that has teachers, community members, and staff on it to help really review all of our different programs that we offer our students and evaluate the effectiveness. Are our students getting what we want them to get from those programs? So next steps. I've been working diligently since I started the job on July 21st to really get to know teachers, students, and the community. I've gone in and met with them on their preps and asked them, is there anything you need? How can we support you? And I have an open door policy for anybody. I go to community events, really to to develop these relationships so that we feel comfortable working as a team to move forward with these recommendations. Additionally, we're going to provide professional development learning opportunities for PLCs, professional learning communities. It's a concept where we're going to train all of our department leads, and then they're going to roll that out. So English 1 teachers will learn how to collaborate together. They're going to learn how to use School City, something the district already has, to upload different assessments and whatnot that are standards-based, and so they can pull data from those assessments and say like, hey, your kid did really well on these standards and mine didn't. What did you do differently, and how can we work together to move those kids forward? Our department leads will be attending a district-approved professional development in February, provided by Solution Tree. Additionally, we want to ensure high-level thinking skills, so continue to support teaching with providing professional development opportunities for teachers both on and off campus. Is there something where they can go hop into another classroom and see what's going on? Or is there a professional development on engagement and rigor that they want to attend off campus that we can provide that opportunity to them for? Our next steps, we're taking the team through the PLC training and supporting them through agendas. So when my departments meet, I ask them to complete the 4-question agenda. What do we want them to know? How are we going to get them? What do they do if they don't? And how do we enrich if they already have the information so that they can start working together? And at the beginning of this year, we also asked that teachers have the same syllabi and course expectations from content to content. So if you're in my English class, if I give retakes and provide that opportunity, she does as well, so that we have equal access to the curriculum and opportunity for instruction. We're going to ensure that our teachers are trained to use the resources we have. We had some rollout of curriculum during the COVID 18 months, and so it was difficult for teachers to be trained on that. So I want to make sure that our teachers are trained on the resources they have so that they can use them to their full potential and with fidelity. We'll also use tools such as School City to provide teachers data analysis. They need a training, obviously. It's not something they're familiar with, but they can create their own assessments. They can team up with other like content teachers to create common formative assessments and really start to look at that data about what our students are learning and what they aren't and what we can enrich. So my school goals, the continuous improvement plan, was taken straight from the Cognia recommendations. So I'm working with committee and teachers to focus on materials towards a common goal to increase achievement. We're going to start using, I recommended with my English department the other day, we're taking the ACT as our state standardized test in the spring. So it's different than what they're used to. It's graded with a different rubric. So I'm encouraging our teachers who have writing assignments to use that rubric to start looking at that data already. It's something that already is in place. They don't have to create it, and they can use that to inform instruction. Social studies teachers, science teachers, anyone that has a writing piece can use that rubric to help look at data and see where our areas of growth are. And again, implementing professional learning communities. It is a 3 to 5 year process. It's not something that happens overnight. It takes, sometimes, they say you have to go slow to go fast. So it's training and really getting teachers familiar and comfortable to start to roll out that process, because what it does is it makes everything student-centered and data-driven, and it takes our teachers off of islands and puts them all together so that we're all operating on the same plane. So in summary, we've reviewed this. I did it with the department leads, with the staff, and we're moving forward. They provided input on what they thought. I provided my goals to them as well and said, hey, tell me what you think. I'm always open to reflect and make any changes because we're working together as a team. We celebrated successes like, hey, we did better than the average. We got a gold star, and so that's awesome, especially during COVID. We'll use the findings from the data to strengthen our plan. My improvement plan aligns directly with the findings, and we will continue our improvement journey with the help and support of our community. Any questions?
Yes.
Shoot.
About probably 4 slides back, you had said something about informal assessments. So I'm going to use the word benchmark, which would be a formative assessment. And I'm assuming that those benchmarks are not formal benchmarks, designated benchmarks, say, for example, 1 per quarter or 1 per semester. Is that right? They occur, when do they occur, really is my question.
So I've asked teachers to do one once a quarter to look at that data. It's not anything that was a system that was in place already, so it's something new and something they have to create. So we do the best they can to do that every quarter. Additionally, teachers can use common and formative assessments every single day in their classroom to figure out like, hey, they got that, or tomorrow I better touch on that again because they didn't understand that piece.
Thank you.
And President Hatcher, part of the school city with the benchmarks, all of that data straight from the state standards that we cover by each quarter. And so that's the transition that Mrs. Barella was talking about, that we'd like to move into that direction. So as we continue this process, as they're looking at that data, we want to be able to implement that within the school city system so that then we have longitudinal data for our students as our K-8 students are currently doing it, and we want to ensure that our high school students will be also following that process so that we can keep looking at that personal student growth and that individual student growth.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was sort of another one of my questions. Again, an area of focus under data analysis, curriculum alignment. So I'm thinking, what do they mean? What are they talking about? Aligning to the standards is what I would assume.
It is aligning to the standards. And as we've talked about, there are a couple different programs that right now that the high school has with pre-AP and the rollout with that. And then, so what we're doing on that piece, we actually have a committee of department chairs and teachers that we're going to look at pre-AP at one of the local high schools that has been doing it for quite a while to see that full implementation with that curriculum. And then we're also going to be looking, taking a trip down to Vail to look at BT and the BT curriculum maps and to see which ones align better with where we're going with the ACT as our state assessment.
Yeah, I would add, my teachers confidently teach to the standards. It's just how it looks from classroom to classroom, having a tighter alignment with that.
Okay. Thank you. The BT thing will bring up more questions in my head, but I'm not sure I want to go there tonight. Anybody else?
Yes, I've got, probably a question and a comment. In the area of focus, theme number 5, curriculum alignment, I served at the high school on site council for 5 years before I was elected on the board. And it was a continual discussion of curriculum alignment, not only at the high school, but down through the middle schools to the elementary, K to 12, 12 to K. And this district historically has struggled with curriculum alignment. Obviously, we now have a new leadership team, new leadership at the high school. We have burned up many years with a lot of discussion of curriculum alignment. So I'm anxious to see how we can now turn this and actually create a proper curriculum K to 12, 12 to K, that not only teaches to the standards, but then fulfills the education needs of the students. That's going to be a tall task. I was on the accreditation. I served as site council and participated in that last accreditation that we had with North Central. They also had several other good areas of things that we should work on. I would suggest that we also go back and look at that paperwork too and see between the old North Central papers from 5 years ago and the current accreditation to see where we can grow at the high school, and then make sure we bubble that down to Sonoran Trails and to the elementaries. The other, I guess that was my comment. The other question was on the next steps, and I guess this also ties in with the curriculum. The second bullet point was developing an effective professional learning community to work on campus, to work with the curriculum, assessment, remediation, and enrichment. Personally, I'm almost a little disappointed that we don't have something already in place. And maybe we do, and maybe it didn't work, and maybe that's why the curriculum alignment came back up again in the accreditation paperwork. So I think definitely for our students' sake, we need to make sure we get this right. Because like I said, I was on this 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and we're still talking about curriculum alignment. I think we've just been chasing our tail.
So I'll say we're already working on it as a district. I mean, this is a fun example because everyone automatically thinks your core content areas, and they already kind of naturally work together. Jill and I are working together to bring more of a team, a united front, and so that her kids are ready for what Cactus Shadows has to offer. But my fine arts teachers came to me when I asked them to have a common formative assessment. And they were like, I teach theater, I teach dance, you know, I teach, you know, drawing or whatever. And they said, how can we be a part of that data? It might be difficult. So I suggested that they develop a rubric, a common rubric that can be used across the different fine arts areas. A performing arts rubric as well as a fine arts rubric. And my team has taken that on and they've shared it with middle school as well as some elementary school teachers, and they're actually going to use that common rubric already moving forward. So we are working on that so that kids who come up to us are like, hey, I've seen this before, I know my expectation, I know what I need to do to be successful. So that's already happening.
Okay, and then one other, just a general comment, you know, we have several professional development days built into the school calendar, and it's been a lot of lip service given that we're working with all the English teachers, we're working with all the math teachers or whatever, at both, you know, to look at curriculum from the high school to the middle school to the elementaries. And I think maybe we've gotten away from utilizing those professional development days to give our faculty a chance to do that. I know professional development's a very broad brush, and a lot of good comes from those different events, but I think we need to refocus on the curriculum piece and make sure we're doing what we need to do as a district for the kids.
Right. And Member Brown, we're definitely in agreement with that. Let's just remember that with curriculum, that's the state standards. We're teaching the state standards. What we're looking at and what they've discussed within Cognia is what's that scope and sequence? What is that they're teaching? When are they teaching it? And ensuring that for example, all of our teachers are hitting these specific standards within quarter one, these specific standards within quarter two, and that we're assessing within utilizing the benchmarks to see where those students are. So, and the fact that, you know, that is one of the reasons why the high school actually received a higher EQ score was because that curriculum piece is still there. They're still focused on those state standards, but what we need to look at, and that's why we are looking at, and again, we're getting the input of the teachers within, are we going to go through the scope and sequence through pre-AP, or are we going to do it through BT, and what's going to be the best fit for our Cactus Shadow students? So that's what we have to really remember. That curriculum piece is the what, and then when we're having the PLCs, that's the how. How are we addressing the data or our students and our students' needs? So just really looking at that it's essentially two different things with the what and then with the how.
Well, the Beyond Textbooks is the guide. I mean, so the teachers stay on track to get to the end of the year, making sure they cover all the standards. What we've seen, or what I've seen in the past, is then we have a area of study that comes up through the elementaries, and we have 2 great years at Sonoran Trails, and then we get that student becomes a freshman, and that path dies because there's no continuation, whether it's science or math or arts or whatever it may be. And I think that's where we lose some students from the middle school to the high school piece, because we don't have that continuation of curriculum.
Yes and no. We have that continuation, and again, we're addressing the state standards. What you're saying is, like, right now we use BT at the K-8 level, and we use pre-AP at the high school level. And so that's where we're looking at those pieces. That are we going to continue that BT piece K-12, or are we going to continue with what was adopted a couple years ago with the pre-AP? And so that's where we want to make sure, that's where Sarah and Jill have really been working very closely together to look at what are the essential skills that our students need to be successful, because we want to make that transition smooth between 8th and 9th grade. I remember my days as a high school principal where kids would come to me freshmen. In the first quarter, you've had 70% of the kids failing at least one course. We don't want that to happen to our Cactus Shadows students. And that's where that transition piece and working together and having that vertical articulation that I think is what you're talking about, really having those conversations about what are these essential skills, what does this standard really mean, so that when they get to me, whether they're in a on-level course or in an honors course, that they're successful and that we don't have to worry about that 70% where at first quarter they could be failing and we're struggling to put in interventions into place.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I would just like to say thank you to everyone who is involved with this. I had the good fortune of being involved in 2 different aspects. I got interviewed individually early on in this, and I didn't really know what I was walking into. And it was like a test that I hadn't studied for, and I'm sitting there going, oh, shoot, how am I supposed to answer this? Because I knew what it was all, it was a big deal. Mm-hmm. If I screwed up, well, we could go down in flames. And then each of the board members, we were interviewed in a sort of a group, but by Zoom. And through the process, it really highlighted all of the work that everybody does collectively at the high school. And a lot of it, I think, to some degree, we just take it for granted because we've been doing it for so long. But at the same time, listening to your presentation, I'm really excited because we've done some things really, really well, as the score shows. But when you bring in new eyes to look at it, it presents a brand new opportunity to go above and beyond where we are. And so I'm really excited for where your vision is going to take us. So thank you.
I think teachers are excited too.
I'm excited. Oh, good. We're all excited.
Can I ask one more question? Go ahead.
I didn't really have a question. It was more of a comment because as a new board member, I got kind of thrown in this, and it's kind of like Member Busby said. I was like, I had no idea what's happening with this, but part of that whole process, besides contributing my thoughts about what was happening, was hearing what everybody else was doing from different angles and how they were working at the school, and it was really impressive. So I was impressed with what was being said, and obviously that showed up in the scores here, so it's good work all around, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, coming in kind of late to the game, when Nancy was like, you have to give this presentation, I'm like, but called in my counterpart here, Lori, because she helped put it all together, and I appreciate that. And I would say that one thing I heard from talking to people who were involved in the process is how impressed Cognia was with what the school was putting forward and turning out, with the amount of turnover they've had in administration, with not the solid curricular pieces, that all match with each other. When you look at a PLC, everyone's going to teach the same scope and sequence at the same time, and they really were rocking it without those formal processes in place. So I think once we provide this training to the teachers and give them the formal process and outline, they're really going to be successful, and our kids will definitely see the benefits of that.
Does the high school have curriculum maps in place? Or is that an old school thing? Because we did that in elementary a few years ago, and that was a good scope and sequence with a lot of resources.
Yes, and President Hatcher, members of the board, so currently the cores that are doing the pre-AP have the curriculum scope and sequence through pre-AP through College Board, and that's what they're currently following. So, and again, it's directly linked to state standards, but it's following that specific scope and sequence based off of pre-AP. And that's where we really want to take that team, that core team, and including some of our elective courses to really look at what it looks like when it's fully implemented, and gives us that opportunity to look at the two different curriculum systems and then which one we want to continue on with.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? More comments?
We're extremely excited for this year. And again, I'm going to say something that Member Busby said. You are absolutely right. The team at Cactus Shadows and what they have accomplished and what they're going to continue accomplishing, I'm just very, very excited for our students. And that's what we were really talking about. Lori actually had brought it up when we were talking earlier. Just think now when we have some of these formal pieces in place, where our students and how successful they're going to be at all levels, and all students, from our special education students to our AP IB students, and really that focus being on every single student at that high school.
Yeah, it sounds really good. It sounds like you're really tightening things up, which sounds like a good thing. So thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Item 5, action consent. Is there a motion to approve item 5 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 5, action consent as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. The motion carries. Item 5 is approved as presented. Miss Rodriguez, can you now scroll up, because we're going to pull certain of these items in 5 individually, beginning with 5.2. Does it have the
detail?
Yeah, because we've got about 5 of them we're pulling individually.
And Caroline, you could probably come to the mic as well in case there's any questions.
5.2, please.
5.2.
They're not hard questions.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so there we go.
In this item, there are, I think, 3 job descriptions. Are these consolidation? Are each of these consolidation of positions, or are they brand new positions?
So we have 2, President Hatcher and members of the board, we have 2 that have been revised to change the scope with which they will be affected. And then the 912 support tech is a new position.
Okay, so.
But the ECS manager 2 is really amalgamation of the ECS coordinator and manager positions.
Okay. So with the new position, how is that impacting our budget? Because it was created now, but it wasn't necessarily in the budget.
There is a 15-cent change per hour in the 9 to 12 support tech, and no changes for the Director of Educational Technology or the ECS Manager 2 positions.
Okay, thank you.
And then the next one, 5.3, please.
We have to vote on these
Right.
individually?
I thought we probably did. Yeah, because they've been pulled out. Yeah, I think we need to vote on them individually because they've been pulled out. So, item 5.2, can you back up? Sorry.
Just want to see the agenda item.
That, right there, that's the backup we need to see. So 5.2, because we're going to need to read the recommendation and then go through a motion.
May I ask a question while we're scrolling through the book here? Is it common for all the administrative items?
Right there.
The changes, whether it's resignations, leave of absences, new hires from possibly administrative positions on up, to glom all that in together with regular HR? Should those items be pulled out and discussed or voted on separately?
Member Brown and members of the board, it's been my experience that generally those are within the consent agenda in past districts that I've been in.
Even if we pulled them out of what this is 5.2 and created a 5.3 for new employment, new hires, or resignations, anything like that?
The board could certainly do that, Member Brown and members of the board. What I've seen and what I think is a practice that you'll see is most boards try to focus on an efficient board meeting of 60 to 90 minutes in addition to public comments. And so that's why a lot of those things are embedded in the consent agenda. If it was the will of the board to do that, we could certainly do that moving forward.
We've just, over the past few months, we've had a lot of people, employees come and go, and it's starting to get where you need a program to figure out who's who and where they're at and what tasks or job descriptions they have. Maybe if we don't cancel our second board meetings of the month, then we'd be able to do that and still be able to keep within your 60 to 90 minutes and not pile everything into once a month huge board books.
Noted.
Okay, we ready? Okay. So item 5.2, human resources item. Administration would recommend that the governing board take the following action. Move that the governing board approve the HR items as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve item 5.2 as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. The motion carries. Item 5.2 is approved as presented. Now, Ms. Rodriguez, 5.3, please. Okay, thank you.
Okay, on 5.3, I only had one question. With percentage-wise, with what's been spent to date, how much of that is going directly to our students?
Member Busby, can you?
That's the graphic.
Marcy, it's the M&O fund comparison of budgeted to actual expenditures graph, September 2021. It's close to the end, Marcy. I think it's the penultimate page.
It's way at the end.
This graphic here.
Keep going.
Keep going. Not that one. That one.
Yes. You're doing great.
Almost.
A lot of pressure when people are watching.
I know. I almost had it. One more. There it is.
There it is.
Awesome. Okay, so the question is, what percentage of the expenditures is
To date,
is being spent
directly
in the
on-
classroom?
Yes.
That information isn't presented in this document that we supply you. That would be pulling it out based on instructional expenses versus the other expenses. I can definitely provide you that information of what percentage is being spent in the classroom.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, so any other questions?
Nope.
All righty. The administration would recommend, I'm assuming the administration's recommending, that the governing board take the following action. Move that the governing board approve the monthly financial reports as presented. Is there a motion to approve item 5.3 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 5.3 as presented. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain. The motion carries. Item 5.3 is approved as presented. Now, item 5.5, please. So, yeah.
There you go. Right about there. Yep.
It's enrollment.
Almost.
Okay, on this, it's not really a question. You know, since the last update, our information here shows that we've had a net loss of 20 students. But the reason that I wanted to call attention to this is enrollment seems to be an ongoing, I don't like to use the word issue, but it's a thing. And
An opportunity?
Thank you. That's good. Enrollment is an opportunity. And given the current environment that we're in, I would like to see this as its own agenda item because I really think that the enrollment is something that the board needs to really focus on. And it's the driving factor to what we can and cannot do in this school district. And it breaks my heart to see numbers going down. And so collectively, I think we need to have a lot of collaboration on how to make the numbers go the other way. So that's all. Oh, here.
And since Member Busby brought that up, I'm going to ask a question I've already asked Dr. Monroe, and so the board's seen his reply, but I'll ask it publicly. I wanted to know, what are we doing in terms of exit interviews with students' family, to find out why they're leaving. Obviously, if they're going to schools out of the state, I get it. If they're going to schools within our own school district or on our borders, then I'm really curious as to what's drawing them away from us and to those border schools or schools within the district. So.
Yeah, President Hatcher, members of the board, I'll let Dr. Jensen comment too, because we were just talking about this today in our meeting. But one thing that we're working on currently is we want to gauge in this community why people choose other schools. We feel like we have a pretty good idea under school choice, whether it's online, whether it's private schools, whether it's Candio, whether it's curriculum programs that we may not be able to offer because of budget constraints. But we want to have an ability every year to be able to survey the community and that says, hey, to your knowledge, like the people you talk to in the barbecues and when you go out and when you're at dance with them in soccer, but to your knowledge, why do people not choose Cave Creek Unified? And so we were just talking about that today on almost like a yearly item that we can measure to see. And then Patty, do you want to comment on a few things?
Absolutely. President Hatcher, members of the board, similar to what Dr. Monroe is saying, we're planning to survey students and families later on in the year to gauge some of that. The other piece that we're doing is, one of the best ways, anybody who, I don't know a lot about marketing, but anybody who knows things about marketing, you need to start with a good product. And so we're making sure that from within, our product is solid, and it's something that people will talk about at the barbecues and at their preschools and at their daycares and wherever they are before they come to Cave Creek. So we're really working on that word of mouth side and just making sure that our own folks within are very happy with what we're offering so that we can draw other folks from outside of our boundaries as well. And we have discussed, again, like you said, when we know that they went to, Wyoming, we can't compete with that. However, we're considering following up with some of those families that just leave us to a neighboring place, maybe from a centralized location, so that they don't feel maybe bad about telling the front office staff at the school that they just left.
Yeah, President Hatcher, members of the board, that's a significant one. We lose a lot of students to out of state because our families have a lot of opportunities for employment and things like that. However, if they go to a local district, a simple phone call, right, from the school to say, hey, why are you leaving? We'd love to keep you. What drove your decision? As I've told the board before, Arizona takes pride in being a state of choice. So this is what's being pushed, that families, it doesn't matter where you live, that you have a choice in your education. And our families up here, a lot of families can afford private school. There's charter schools. Now there's these robust online schools as well. So I think even a simple phone call, and I've been told that in Cave Creek we did this in the past, where we'd call the family and say, hey, why did you leave Lone Mountain Elementary second grade? Is there something we did? Is there something we can help with? However, I do understand, and I'm not naive to not think that it's hard to be everything to everybody. And so that's one of the challenges we're facing.
I don't expect us to be all things to everybody, but what we do, I do expect us to be the best at what we do. And so if we're the best, that's going to drive, that's a marketable point.
Anyone else? All righty. Is there a motion to approve item 5.5 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 5.5 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. The motion carries. Item 5.5 is approved as presented. Item 5.9. Right?
Yeah, 5.9. It's the
Education.
yeah. Okay, one question on this. It says that it was updated as of July 26, 2021. Why are we voting on this in October if it was updated in July?
Okay, so Member Busby,
Yes.
you're asking, the memorandum says it was updated as of July 26, 2021. So your question is, why are we voting on it now in October?
Correct.
Yes, Member Busby, members of the board, I can answer that for you. There was language in this agreement that I was negotiating with them and working with our legal team to get some of the language changed so that it better reflected what our practice was with this organization.
Okay, so since it's not being approved till now, do we have any sort of liability with this?
No, we do not.
All right, thank you.
So the administration is recommending that we, okay. Move that the governing board approve the memorandum of expectations, MOE, between Educatius International and Cave Creek Unified School District as presented. Is there a motion to approve item 5.9 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 5.9 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain, and I'm an aye. The motion carries. Item 5.9 is approved as presented. And last, item 5.10.
Okay, this is the Educational Services Host School Agreement. Two questions. On page 4 of the contract, there's a blank that's highlighted for an effective until date. Are we expected to approve this with no date, or are we supposed to approve this with an end date? Because it's highlighted.
We are going to fill that in with the last day of the year. It will just be a one-year agreement with them.
Okay, so what date would that be? Because we're
That would
approving-
be 6/30 of 2022.
Okay, and how many teachers are we getting with this?
Member Busby, members of the board, let me have Caroline Lynch, our Director of Human Resources, answer that question. She's been working with them.
So President Hatcher, members of the board, to date, we have not received any teachers from this. We have interviewed over 9 teachers to fill the Spanish immersion position. And we have tried to offer the contract to different people through this company, but they've all turned us down so far.
Okay, now, one other thing. In the contract, it says that 20% of the exchange teacher's salary is what we're going to be billed for. So is that?
No, plus 20%.
Plus 20%. Okay.
Right. So then they become the J1 visa holders, and we as a district do not have to do that.
All right, thank you.
All right, anyone else? Okay, so the administration is recommending that the governing board take the following action. Move that the governing board approve the Educational Services, Inc., ESI, host school agreement for 2021-2022 as presented. Is there a motion to approve item 5.2 as 5.10 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 5.10 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. The motion carries. Item 5.10 is approved as presented. All righty, thank you. Item 6, old business, there is none. Item 7, new business, 7.1. Annual Financial Report 2020-2021. School Level Reporting Annual Financial Report for 2020-2021. An ESSER update presented by Ms. Marcy Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, President Hatcher, members of the board. I'd like to share with you this evening a little bit of information. In your packet, you have a couple of documents. You have the annual financial report, which is district-wide, several pages long. And you also have a school-level report for each of the individual schools and an update for the ESSER 3 process that we are in the middle of. So I want to start by just giving you an ESSER 3 update. One of the requirements of ESSER 3, which is different than ESSER 1 and ESSER 2, was that we survey and we consult with the stakeholders being the public, the community, the staff. We did a survey, met with several councils, met with our Teachers Association leaders, and gathered their input on how they thought we could best invest this $4.4 million. So based on that feedback that we received, here are the priorities we have established and are presenting to the board as part of our plan to spend the ESSER funds. Instructional technology, stipends for staff, teacher professional development, teacher mentor programs, material and training to support the loss of learning, safety and security of our buildings, safety and security of our buses, crisis prevention resources, and update furniture. So it was very interesting, the students' input on all of this and their perspectives. Our students are very smart. And so I was very taken by what they established as priorities, very thoughtful. And priorities with them were the technology, the teacher mentoring program, and updated furniture. So for them to be intuitive about our teachers and supporting our teachers, I thought that was that was really telling about our students.
Yeah, President Hatcher, members of the board, it's always interesting when you have a high school upperclassman mention something like, is there a way you can help our teachers be better? You know, I mean, from the mouths of babes. And so it was a really fruitful conversation to talk to some of our high schoolers when we talked about what things can we do to better support you as students. They want their teachers to be better teachers for them so they can go farther in life.
Yeah, sounds good. Any questions about the ESSER 3?
When surveys are sent out, would it be possible for the board to get a copy of it so we actually see what's being asked?
Member Busby, absolutely. We can make sure that you're receiving copies of those.
Thank you.
So now I want to talk to you a little bit about the AFR. So the annual financial report is the report that tells everyone how we're doing spending our money. So I like to look at it in three different ways. The transparency is part of this report, the accountability, and the compliance. So transparency, where does the money come from that we get to spend? And then how do we spend the money that we get? And then the compliance portion, there is Arizona revised statute that requires us to present this to the governing board. The governing board approve this, and then we submit this document to the Department of Education and the Auditor General's office. So here's the statute that just says basically the summary of, we ask you to approve this before October 15th. By November 15th, we have to publish it. And they've made it really simple for us now. We don't have to publish it in a newspaper anymore. We publish it on our website with a link that goes to where we have actually uploaded it to the Department of Education. So we have to do that by November 15th. Something new this year, we had a school level budget last year, but it is officially a requirement this year. So we have to show school level AFR. So it's like a mini AFR for each school, what revenues their student population generates, and then how their money is spent on their campuses. So you've got that comparison of the schools. So one of the things that we would like to share with the community is, how do we get our money? Like, where does it come from? Because if you can see by this chart, the majority of our money comes from the property taxes that are gathered for the people who live within our district boundaries. It's a large chunk of the money. The state is a smaller portion, the feds is about 10%, and then local monies are monies that I'm going to show you here in a minute, how those are gathered. And the percentages kind of stay the same every year. I just kind of like to do a year-by-year percentage. The state did give us a little bit less of a proportion this year. The feds gave us more this year than they did the prior year, but we all know that's because of all the ESSER money we got, right? So this is what it looks like when you're saying, where do we get state revenues? I didn't think we got any state aid. Well, this isn't really state aid. This is Classroom Site Fund, which is the funds that go to our teachers. And then you can see additional state aid. That's kind of like the district additional assistance. You know, it used to be capital money. That's separate. That's a little bit separate than the additional equalization money that is paid for solely by our taxpayers. And then the SFB, Building Renewal Grants, we get a lot of money from SFB. They do support, and we have a great maintenance director who works with them very well. Look at all this local money that we gather. Our community schools have great programs. We run preschool, we run after school and enrichment programs for our community. Gifts and donations, we know we have some very generous people that support our schools, Kiwanis Club, PTOs. Auxiliary is all the fees that our kids pay. Career technology, that's EVIT. And then you can see the rest of those. The majority of those funds come from our community, come from our parents. These that are being generated, the tax credit and student activities, our students. So I just wanted to show this expenditure report. This is going to be equivalent to that classroom spending report that the Auditor General gives us in March. But I wanted to point out a few things. So it's pretty steady, the money we spend in the classroom. To your question, Member Busby, earlier, what percentage do we spend in the classroom? We're pretty consistent with that, almost 55% in the classroom. But what is telling this year is the small amount of M&O budget that we have that we're going to carry forward. So you can see, and from the cover letter of the agenda item, we're really close to maxing out our M&O budget last year. We all know that there were some shortfalls that we had to identify. If it wasn't for ESSER 2, we would not have been able to balance a budget. So we moved some of our salaries from M&O into ESSER 2, and that's how we used our ESSER 2 funds last year. That gave us a little bit, almost $70,000. That's very, very little M&O money to pull forward. Capital expenditures, on the other hand, we spent very little in capital. We're carrying over $2 million in that. So what you'll see is a revised budget come to you probably in May, and it'll adjust those carryover amounts from what we originally projected. Capital is a little bit higher, and then M&O is a little bit lower than what we projected. But as you can see, we're very steady with how we invest our money in the different areas there by the graph. And then this graph shows you like where, so classroom spending, you saw administration, but this is salaries. This is salaries of everybody in the district. So almost 77% of the money that we do spend goes into salaries. Then you see purchase services, and this is going to be things like the liability insurance that we pay for, contractors that we pay for, ABM, for cleaning and things like that. And then, of course, supplies. Capital is a very small portion of how we invest our money, and then dues and fees. So here's the next steps. We're asking you to approve this tonight. We're going to post it on our website. And then in a few months, we're going to bring you a CAFR, which is the Comprehensive Financial Report that our auditors produce for us. And then we'll have a budget revision. We can either do it in December or May. Any questions?
Budgets and financial statements and financial reports are presented publicly, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They're published. You can go to the Arizona Department of Education's website, and you can see the budgets for every school in the state. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from?
I have a couple of questions. On the ESSER 3 planned expenses, that was the list that had the 8 or 9 bullet points. In the action consent tonight, we just approved item 5.4 was payment vouchers. And on those vouchers, there was spending for both ESSER money and ESSER 3 money. ESSER money, approximately $1,558. ESSER 3 funds, $411,187. Can you give us a thumbnail sketch of what we've already spent over $400,000 on with the ESSER 3 funds?
Yes. So we have spent it on laptops for our teachers, security cameras for our buses. The 2 vouchers there was 2 of them that had $177,000 on them. It looks like a payment was made twice. In fact, what happened was, what you don't see in your vouchers is that $177,000 was credited back. We do something called an electronic transfer with some of our vendors instead of cutting them a check. Well, when we went to do electronic voucher to this vendor for $177,000, they said, oh no, we can't take it in that form. So we had to void that transfer. So it's not actually the 400 that it adds up to be, because it looks like it's 177 twice. It's only 177 once, but that was for the bus cameras.
Then why would it appear on the vouchers twice?
It was credited out of the account and in a different, because it was deposited into the electronic transfer account. It was credited out of there. It doesn't show it as a credit in the voucher. I understand that may be something we need to look at when credits are issued in that manner, that we visibly bring that to the board. So thank you for the question. But that is 177 as opposed to 400.
Okay, and then on the slide that had the fiscal year 2021 revenues with the property taxes and that,
Yes.
can you explain on the 21 revenues, the grand total of revenues $55,849,000, but then why are we working with a budget of $32 million for the fiscal year? Where's the difference?
So that's a great question. So there's many funds that make up that $55 million. So when we budget, we have the M&O, the maintenance and operation. That's our budgeted, our big account that we budget. We have a lot of cash accounts that we actually work with as well. If you look at some of these other totals, like classroom site fund, that's not included in that $32 million budget. You also have the $1 million in the SFB facilities, and then all of the communities. So all of those revenues are included in that 55. So actually that property tax, that's our budget. You know, that's the $32 million, plus a little bit of that state money.
But then we're still bringing in that extra revenue, the difference between the 32 million and the 55 million?
Correct, but it's other funding sources that don't require us to establish a budget for them.
Is there any guidance on this money, or is it just floating around out here in buckets? I mean, what?
No, they actually, they all have to be spent in specific ways. Yes, there is guidance called the Uniform Standard of Financial Reporting that we have to use when we're looking at these different funds, like Classroom Site Fund. There is guidance around how we have to spend Classroom Site Fund.
Then why wouldn't that be included in our budget?
Well, because when we talk about the budget capacity is maintenance and operation. It's one fund, the Maintenance and Operation Fund. That's the budget that we have to adhere to by the state that is used to calculate the equalization formula that we use to generate our taxes. But all of these others have criteria, of course. The Classroom Site Fund has to be spent away, the Instructional Improvement Fund. There's statute behind all of these that tells us how we can invest that money.
Then how are we being transparent with our stakeholders on all these extra revenues that we don't have to divulge to our community?
No, we have to. In that annual financial report that you have in front of you, it has line items for each of those revenues, and it shows you how those are being spent.
Yeah, okay. I'm
I'm-
barking up a tree here. I'm not going to get the answer I'm looking for, so I'll be done.
This graphic that Scott's referring to,
Yes.
what it presents to the community is that we have revenues of 55 million. But then on the other hand, we're also telling the community we don't have enough money. Yet we have a budget of 32 million. And I understand where this is going. I understand it, but I've been sitting here and I've learned all of this, and so I understand it. But how we present it to the community makes a big difference. And it maybe needs to be presented in a very elementary way. No pun intended. Because yes, classroom site fund has different requirements than the overall budget. So does SFB. But when you're showing the community, we generate 55 million, we've got stakeholders that are saying, oh, wait a second. You're telling us, you need money for all of these things, but your budget's only 32 million. So do you understand?
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you for your question, Member Brown. I'm sorry that I am not able to explain it in a way. And Member Busby, thank you for that input. One of the things that I want to achieve this year, this is like the first step, but I want to have informational meetings on how our budget works, how we use that $55 million in revenue, how it gets invested in our kids, and where it all goes. Because yes, that's a big number. Mm-hmm. And I can see how they would say, well, wait a minute, you've got all the, but if I can break it down by pieces maybe, and have, okay, so School Facilities Board, can that pay for a teacher raise? No, it can't. That the career and technology, how do we invest that money? Can I buy teachers with that? Or does that go for improving programs? So in community school, that's a large chunk of the revenue there as well. So I'm hoping that I can break it down and make it more understandable. I know it's complex. I know there's a lot of moving parts to it, and I definitely want the community to feel confident that the way we're spending the money is in accordance with the way we are required to.
Yeah, President Hatcher, members of the board, I think it's really good input from Member Brown and Member Busby. It's in how you present things, because it is a very complicated formula, and there's a detailed report that's available and online and in the board book that you can see. But yeah, trying to help people get a better grasp, because people want to know, how are these things spent? How come I'm thinking about a $33 million budget, but you're telling me we have $55 million in revenues? And a lot of times there's not an easy answer. It's not as clear as mud. It's a lot of times. However, it's incumbent upon us to be able to have those education sessions, to be able to go through that, to help people understand better how public school finance happens. And this is kind of the first step, to have a very transparent annual financial report and bring a CAFR back to the board, and just do better moving forward.
Any other comments or questions?
Just wanted to confirm we have until 2024 to spend ESSER 3 funds?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
I don't know if this has been ongoing. I mean, you're the third financial officer that sat to my right in the 3 years I've been on the board, and to see this kind of numbers, but we only have to show a budget of 32 million, but we're taking in 55 million in revenues. I think back to one of the public comments from tonight. Maybe this district needs to do a forensic audit. Maybe we need to prove to our stakeholders and our voters in our district that we have handled our funds properly. Because I see this and I have all kinds of questions, and it's just like, why, we've been beating the drum about 32 million as our budget, and then we show a big slide that we've got 55 million coming in. Well, I've 35 years in retail. I understand a little bit about how the money flows, and if you've got X number of dollars coming in, you should have about X number of dollars going out. Whether it's in a ginormous report or we break it out or whatever, but I'm a little perturbed about this, and maybe I'm not the only one, but this doesn't look good, and I'm sorry about that.
Member Brown, I would love to be able to share how and what that $55 million was spent on, and that's what this shows you in this graphic. So this graphic shows you $55 million. Now, I know that they're big chunks. It doesn't show you exactly each of those 55 million, but I definitely promise that I will work to provide you with information to help you feel comfortable with how that $55 million is being spent in the district.
I think your efforts would be better used to show the stakeholders where the money's being spent.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, Ms. Rodriguez, would you please make the recommendation so we can move on it?
It's recommended, the administration recommends the governing board take the following action. Move the governing board approve the 2020-2021 annual financial report as presented.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 7.1, annual financial report 2020-2021, school level reporting annual. Were you done with your report?
Yes.
Okay. School level reporting annual financial report for 2020-2021, and the ESSER update. As presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Abstain? Motion carries 4-1. Item 7.1 is approved as presented. Item 7.2, approval of performance-based pay language presented by Ms. Marcy Rodriguez and Ms. Caroline Lynch.
Yes, thank you, President Hatcher, members of the board. I would like to call Ms. Caroline Lynch up to the podium and have her answer any questions you might have on this item.
President Hatcher and members of the board, the President's contract and state law require the governing board to adopt a written plan for performance-based pay as an alternative to using the statutory plan in ARS 15-341. Accordingly, the board must adopt the goals to measure the superintendent against. We have put forth a resolution for that. Do you guys have any questions?
Don't we need to read the item in before we can ask questions?
The resolution we do. Did you have anything else, Ms. Lynch, before that resolution is read?
So the superintendent district goals, we have the 4 initiatives below. And then do they have the resolution?
Yes,
we do.
Okay. So, and then the resolution, would you like me to read the resolution? I'd be happy
yes,
to do so.
you can or I can, doesn't matter.
So whereas the Cave Creek Unified School District, number 93 of Maricopa County, Arizona, has determined that it is in the district's best interest to establish its own performance pay plan for the services of Superintendent Court Monroe pursuant to ARS 15-341. Now, therefore, it is resolved by the Governing Board of Cave Creek Unified School District number 93 of Maricopa County, Arizona, that 1, Section 1, pursuant to ARS 15-341, the Governing Board hereby establishes its own performance pay plan for the services of the superintendent. Section 2, the Governing Board agrees that during the term of the superintendent's employment contract, 10% of the superintendent's annual base pay of $15,763.50 for the 21-22 school year shall be designated as performance-based pay. Section 3, the district's governing board shall assess the superintendent's performance pay on an annual basis based upon the goals presented to the governing board in August 21. And you guys have the goals on the front cover sheet. And substantial progress towards meeting the agreed upon goals from the district. Section 4, the district's governing board shall assess the superintendent's performance annually for the purposes of determining performance-based pay. Such assessment shall occur prior to June 30th annually. If the majority of the board members present and conducting the performance assessments agree that the superintendent has earned performance-based pay, then they shall vote to issue some or all of his performance-based pay subject to availability of funds. Section 5, any award of performance-based pay shall be in addition to the superintendent's annual base salary and shall be paid in the next pay period following the board's decision. And Section 6, the governing board reserves the right to revise its superintendent's performance-based pay plan adopted herein.
Okay. Thank you. Would you like to make the recommendation to the board?
I recommend that the board take the following action, that the governing board approve the resolution outlining the superintendent's performance-based pay plan for the 21-22 school year.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve item 7.2 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second? Questions or discussion?
Well, the obvious question is, why are we creating our own document when we have ARS 15341 to use? What advantage do we have to recreate the wheel?
So the document for AS 15-341 would have it be the performance plan, if it's 100%, 25% of the performance pay shall be determined based on the percentage of academic gain determined by the Department of Education for pupils who are enrolled in the school district compared to the academic gain achieved by the highest ranking of the 50 largest schools in the state. So that's one. The next 25% of the performance pay would be determined by the percentage of parents of pupils who are enrolled in the school district who assign a letter grade of A to the school on a survey of parental satisfaction within the school district. The next 25% of the performance pay shall be determined by the percentage of teachers who are employed at the school district who assign a letter grade of A to the school on the survey of teacher satisfaction. And the last 25% of the performance pay would be determined by other criteria selected by the governing board.
So my original question is, why is that such a bad thing that we have to recreate our own?
It is really up to the board in which they wanted to do. Currently, we did not have a resolution in place, but we were not using the ARS 15-341.
Other than the resolution, we've got 4 goals on the front page of 7.2. So where in these 4 goals do we partner up, like performance pay determined based on percentage of academic gain, or number of students that are enrolled in the district, taking right off of ARS 15341? I mean, wouldn't we want that as a goal to show improvement in our students' academic scores, or that we're capturing more local students into our CCUSD schools? So why are we throwing that away to come up with 4 initiatives that really aren't the meat and potatoes of what we really need done here in the district?
That's really up to the governing board to determine. This is an option for you when it comes to the superintendent's performance-based pay plan. And if we don't have a resolution in place, then we do need to adopt and have the 15-341.
So did we use 15-341 previously?
No.
I'm sorry, what was that?
No, sir. We did not, Member Brown.
So prior superintendent never got a performance pay?
I apologize that I cannot answer whether a resolution was adopted earlier or not. I just wanted to ensure that we were doing it correctly here on out.
What is typically done in districts? Do you have any feel for what a lot of districts do? Do they go off the ARS, or do they create their own goals?
I unfortunately do not have an intelligent answer to that one, to be honest.
I can tell you, for instance, I did some homework on this. Deer Valley has divided their goals into 4 sections: 25% for academics, 25% for culture. That's where they bring in the survey of stakeholders, students, teachers, enrollment, and then fiscal responsibility. They've got quantifiable metrics in here. Other school districts throughout the state have measurable goals that align in their own unique way with what ARS is stating. And so, you know, I'm sitting here, I'm a little troubled by this. You're bringing this to the board, this resolution, but you can't really explain and justify why you're bringing this other than, well, we haven't had one in the past. Well, in the past, you were here when we had a different superintendent. So why wasn't this not brought forward then?
Yeah, President Hatcher, Member Busby, members of the board, I don't know the answer to that. You know, Caroline's been here a short time in the district as well. I'm not sure why it wasn't brought forward before differently, or if ARS had changed within the last few years of that requirement.
I don't believe it has. We paid out performance-based pay in June. So why wasn't this brought up in June? You were here, so
Or
why
before,
wasn't it brought up?
or even before June, before we
Exactly.
had the
That's-
discussion.
You're asking us to vote on something for this resolution, but all I'm hearing is, I don't know. That's not a justifiable reason to vote on something. I don't know, so we got to do it. Well, we have a responsibility here. So give us a reason why.
Yeah, Member Busby, members of the board, if the board directs, we can certainly go back and look at ARS. If that's what the board directs for the superintendent's performance pay, we can certainly do that. I think our intention tonight, at least for Marcy and Caroline, was to present what we were looking at right now as far as an alternative for a few different measures. And if that is not satisfactory to the board, we can certainly go to ARS. There are districts, like you mentioned, Member Busby, that have the 25% breakdown or what have you for the superintendent, from what I know, and there's other districts that do not.
These are the superintendent goals that we approved at a previous meeting, is that correct?
There was a Member Fortney, I did a presentation a few months back, I believe, and we talked about some of the goals and some of our kind of financial outlook and our action plan for the next few years. So that was presented.
And the performance-based pay in June was based upon your hiring contract from the previous board, correct?
Yes, so there is language in the contract that talks about the performance-based pay.
And I believe Carolyn was not in her position the whole time we had Dr. Burdick to receive a performance-based pay. I don't think she was
Well,
superintendent
ask her,
a
when
full
did you
year.
start working for the district?
July 1st, 2020.
Yeah,
Right.
she was not.
So this doesn't need to be concluded tonight, does it? We can ask that we can make suggestions or whatever, right, and have it brought back.
I don't believe there's a time.
There's not a time limit.
Yeah,
or
I
a
don't
time
believe,
frame.
and we can certainly go back under the board's direction to rework it, or whatever the board would like to see. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Madam President, members of the board, I appreciate your input on this. This is an effort for us to put a structure in place that follows statute. And part of the governing board's responsibility, as Carolyn inferred, is to establish the goals for the superintendent. So if there is another agenda item or another conversation that needs to be had to establish those goals in aligned with his contract, then we would definitely bring that back at the board's direction.
I would suggest that we do that because right now we have there's initiatives here. We have no way to measure it, none. And it's extremely subjective, and we're responsible for, we have a fiscal responsibility here, and it would make me feel much better if there is some sort of metric put in place that gives us some guidance on how to measure, other than, well, gee, yeah, I think he did a great job here, so let's give him a bonus. That's not really how it works or how it should work. So I think we would be remiss in our responsibility if we did not bring this back.
And
Thank
there
you.
are no percentages that are as in the ARS, so that might be something that we'd want to
Correct.
discuss on that as well, because they're just kind of out there.
So I would make a motion that we table this.
I second that motion.
Okay. There's a motion on the table to table, motion second on the table to table item 7.2. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. All right, that motion to table carries. All righty. Item 7.3. Approval of art proficiency seal presented by Mrs. Nancy Scott.
Well, I'm also excited to provide this opportunity for our students that I bring forward to you. The Arizona State has a couple of different seals that our students can have placed on their diplomas. And in the past, what has been approved here is the biliteracy seal. And our performing and visual arts have brought it forward to us this year to ask if we could include the arts proficiency seal, as we have several students who have been working tremendously hard through not only their middle school years, but through all 4 years of their high school years to be able to receive an arts proficiency seal. So with this, the administration would recommend that the governing board takes the action of moving and approving the art proficiency seal as presented for our students, and this would, our current seniors would be eligible for this right away.
Okay, is there a motion to, or is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
It's been something that's a long time coming. We have such a rich history of the arts in this community and with our school, and I think this is a great addition to our Cactus Shadows campus.
Thank you, Member Busby. The entire visual arts and performing arts team are beyond excited for this opportunity, and our seniors are already ready to go as soon as you guys hopefully approve this tonight to get working.
With this being presented mid-year, what's the extra cost for this program, and are we able to cover it?
There is no extra cost to it. The state
Program
actually
with-
provides the seal, and then our students with their current, what they've currently taken within their subjects. And if you look at the actual application, it goes through those pieces. And then they do a capstone project that they present, and I'd love to invite all of you guys to that in April to see our students' presentations and their portfolios. And then we submit the names up to the state. The state actually sends us their art seal that's actually designed by a student in Arizona to be placed on their diploma.
Any other comments?
Well, we state Mr. Cupo, who's obviously the drama teacher at the high school, and then a mentor teacher. So are these teachers just doing this for free, or are they going to end up with a stipend at the end, or?
There's no stipend alongside with this. The students have to work with their teacher depending on which area they're interested in, whether they're interested under the music field, the theater field, or the visual arts. This is completely student-driven versus the mentors are just there to provide some feedback along the way, but it's completely a student-driven project.
Anything else from the board?
I was just really excited to see this come up, seeing that it basically was based solely on what work a lot of our students are already doing. So thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you, guys. And you might see in the next course catalog, we add a couple of more seals that our students can work towards.
Great. All right, so it's been moved and seconded to approve item 7.3, approval of the art proficiency seal as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. The motion carries. Item 7.3 is approved as presented. Item 7.4, approval of terminating certified contract language for the 2021-2022 school year for certified classroom teachers, presented by Ms. Marcy Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, President Hatcher, members of the board. So we have contracts that we would like you to approve this evening, that if a teacher starts or a counselor starts or an OT-PT starts, you'll see there's 3 different contracts, that we can make them a 1-year contract so that there's no guarantee that they would be coming back the following year. This is if they are hired after the first of the year, so a mid-year hire, which is why we're bringing them to you now. We have some vacancies that we'll be filling. This contract, if that gives us flexibility, if enrollment continues to drop, we don't need that position, that we aren't bound by any of the legalities of a regular contract. But what it also does is it will allow us, if teachers come in and we really like them and we want to keep them for next year, and we'll be offering contracts probably in March, so it won't be very long where these teachers will know whether they have a place to come to the following year.
Do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I do have a recommendation. I recommend that the governing board approve terminating certified contract language for 2021-2022 school year for certified classroom teacher as presented.
Okay, so moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? Okay, it makes sense to me to have that in place, so, yeah. All right, so it's been moved and seconded to approve item 7.4, approval of terminating certified contract language for the 2021-2022 school year for certified classroom teacher as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. The motion carries. Item 7.4 is approved as presented. Item 7.5, approval of terminating certified professional not CSF eligible contract language for the 2021-2022 school year, presented by Ms. Marcy Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, President Hatcher, members of the board. This contract, the classification of certified professional not classroom site fund eligible is our counselors. So this would be the contract that our counselors would receive.
Do you have a recommendation?
Yes. I move that the governing board approve the terminating certified professional non-CSF eligible contract language for the 2021-2022 school year as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, questions or comments? Again, I say the same thing, it makes sense. All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve item 7.5, approval of terminating certified professional not CSF eligible contract language for the 2021-2022 school year as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. The motion carries. Item 7.5 is approved as presented. Item 7.6, approval of terminating employment contract language for the 2021-2022 school year for special services professional, presented by Ms. Marcy Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, President Hatcher, members of the board. This is the same type of terminating contract language. This will be for our professionals, psychologists, speech therapists, social workers, physical therapists, occupational therapists, and nurses.
Okay.
It is recommended. I move that the governing board approve the terminating contract language for the 21-22 school year for special needs services professionals as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, it's been moved and seconded to approve item 7.6, approval of terminating employment contract language for the 2021-2022 school year for special services professional as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. The motion carries. Item 7.6 is approved as presented. All right, moving into number 8, future agenda items. Just a reminder that these next 2 items, there will be no board discussion. It's an up or down vote. So to make sure the public understands, if the majority of the board votes yes for either one of these items, all that means is that the item is being moved to a future agenda item. That doesn't indicate action tonight. If the majority of the board votes no, the item dies. It's done. Item 8.1, CCUSD Governing Board and Superintendent discuss and vote on requiring masks for A, all students and staff, or B, students pre-K through 6th grade and staff, submitted by Vice President Jeff Fortney, presented by me, Beth Hatcher. The recommendation is that the board will take the following action. Vote to approve placement on an upcoming agenda. So, is there a motion to approve item 8.1 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, so hearing none, the motion dies.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were going to read this background.
I'm not.
No.
No, so.
I'll second.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to approve item 8.1 as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Should you do roll call?
Sorry, how are we separating out the A and the B that's in here?
That would
Are
be
there
for
two?
discussion.
All we can do is vote on it as presented. So let me do a roll call then.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to start with Member Fortney since it's his.
I vote aye.
Okay. I'll go next. I vote nay.
Nay.
Hard no.
Aye.
Okay, so the motion fails. 2 ayes and 3 nays. Item 8.2. Same circumstances I already stated before. Discussion regarding current standing district policies regarding governing board members and their restrictions that are in place to reply back to our stakeholders as a governing board member. Submitted by governing board member Scott Brown and presented by me, Beth Hatcher. The recommendation is that the board will take the following action. Vote to approve placement on an upcoming agenda. Is there a motion to approve item 8.2 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 8.2 as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item 8.2 is approved as presented. All righty. We're going to get done before 9, I think. Item 9, upcoming calendar event. Dr. Monroe, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, President Hatcher, members of the board, we have our fall break coming up a week from Monday. I know families and staff are looking forward to that on October 18th. Veterans Day is around the corner on November 11th, and then, believe it or not, we have Thanksgiving break. November 24th to the 26th, our schools will be closed.
Okay, thank you. Item 10, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.